Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Let's jump into our cosmic weather, see what kind of energy we're dealing with today. All right, we have our space weather report here. Solar wind is currently at 519.8 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is down to a 1, quiet. Shouldn't get much higher than that. Perhaps a 2 in the next 24 hours. We don't see any coronal holes. Few areas where there's a little bit of thinness, but nothing that there's any kind of a hole of major significance we need to be aware of. And our chance for an M-class flare is down to a 10% chance. It's dropped quite a bit from 40% where it was earlier in the week, over the weekend. And our geomagnetic storm activity is down to next to nothing here. All right. 15% if we're in the high latitudes that it could be something active. There is a notice here that in the Bay Area there was a fireball the other night. I don't know if you happen to see this if you're up there. Last night many people near San Francisco saw a slow-moving fireball exploding in the sky around 7:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Witnesses report bright flashes of light, sonic booms that shook the house. So if you're in that area, maybe you caught that. All right, so moving from our space weather over to our astrology for today. Same sun sign. However, that will be changing next week. The sun sign at the moment is Libra. Libra is all about karmic balance. Libra is about air and just balance in general. The tarot card is the card of justice, which is a card about karmic balance. Libra is about balancing things out. That is why it's represented by the scales of justice. And so it's one of the challenges now because it's air. Air is about action. Air is about words. It's about communication. So it's the things that we do, the ways that we communicate to keep ourselves moving forward in life and keep our karmic problems balanced out, because we seem to understand the good we put out creates more good, the bad we put out creates more bad. We understand that and we can balance it out because our words and our actions are in synchronicity with what we know we need to do to balance ourselves. Now, underneath, unconsciously, we're in right here, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Fire signs are all about ideas. Fire is ideas. So we got all these ideas underneath. Not only are they ideas, but they are Sagittarian ideas, Sagittarian fire. So with Sagittarius, you've got more of the higher ideals. So ideas, but ideas that are big ideas that have more than just basic use, that want to move towards something bigger. Sagittarius has the planet Jupiter around it, which is about expansion. So that brings in the idea of expansion with Sagittarius, expanding the fields where one's opportunities and ideas can run free. So that's where we're at with this. In tarot cards, Sagittarius is represented by the card of Temperance, which is one of the angels, one of the archangels in the suit, Archangel Michael, who is there, the angel of fire, who is bringing this light and these ideas and this creativity. Okay, so it's all about balance. Again, just like Libra is about balance, Temperance is about balance. Sagittarius has a balance aspect to it. Everything in life, as we see energetically, all comes back to some kind of balance, because that's what we're looking to do, balance things out. Now our moon is on the way up. We went through the new moon over the weekend, and now we're in a waxing phase. Waxing is going from a new moon to a full moon. So we're already 14% of the way there. And our Mayan Oracle tells us that we are at the end of a wave spell. The end of a 13-day period of time. This was the wave spell of the monkey. Okay? The monkey is all about playfulness, seen through illusion. Again, I think of the monkey as Rafiki from The Lion King, the shaman monkey That kind of, for me, sums up the whole idea of what this is all about. And we're at the 13th day. The 13th day is the cosmic day. It's called the cosmic tone of presence. It is also the jumper, because these wave spells are situated around this particular calendar in 13-day periods. And at the end of the 13th day, you jump from the 13th position to the first position of the next one, kind of like jumping from one lily pad to the next. So we're getting ready to make that jump. So whenever we make that jump, we're closing out one thing because we're leaving that behind to go on to the next phase. The symbol for today, or the kin, is the night, N-I-G-H-T, the night which brings our dreams, and out of our dreams comes abundance, because our dreams helps to seed that field of our unconscious, which helps to nurture our life and grow and brings abundance to us. So everything kind of ties in once again. So we have a cosmic night guided by the hand. The hand is all about accomplishment. Remember, we can use our hands to kill or to create, so it depends on what we want to do with our hands. And so we've got this opportunity of accomplishment over the ideas of abundance and dreams, all jumping off from the place of cosmic presence. The phrase for today: I endure in order to dream, transcending intuition. I seal the input of abundance with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of accomplishment. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is the 18th of October, 2012. And just to show you here, we're getting closer to that intense period of time, those 10 days that come up. But that won't be until the weekend and through next week, so right now we're not worried about that. We're just aware that that is coming up. All right, so there you go. That is our cosmic weather for today. I hope that helps you to understand how you might make your way in the world. Okay, so 64 is the magic number today. 64 days from now will be December 21st, 2012. I say that there is something going to happen on that day and leading up to that day. The reason I say that is because there's been a lot of others who have come before me: Mayans, Aztecs, Hopis, Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, on and on. There's a long list of those who came before me who have said that this date is important. So either I can dismiss all of them as being crazy, nonsensical, and just think this date means nothing, or I could have some respect for my ancestors and decide that what they said has some merit, then I should be paying attention. So that's the way I'm going. So we're 64 days in the closing of this cycle. And I'm just going to keep reiterating, when you close out a cycle, there's always something that happens when you close out a phase. If you're running a race, the last part of the race, you're doing the kick. That's where you're accelerating to make that final great finish. If you are, let's say you're leaving your house to go out of town and you're closing out that phase, you go through and you do all your double checks, you make sure everything is set. There's a process of something happens at the end of a cycle. It doesn't just go from one cycle to the next with unnoticed. There's something that goes on. In life, that's what's going on here. We have planets and stars that are aligning. We have energies coming from the cosmos. We have solar storms that are occurring, and these are sending energies down to the earth. And a lot of these energies that are hitting us from places in deep space that we don't normally receive these energies from. And so as more and more of this is being pushed here, as our consciousness is being expanded, it's stretching on what we think and so on. It's just important to keep in mind what these 64 days are about. It's a spiritual shift. It's not all about the physical. It's a spiritual shift. There will be physical. There will continue to be physical. But the spiritual is more important. And so it's important that we really consider what this is about, because the consciousness and the unconscious change that's taking place is what's really moving us forward. That in mind, all week we've been doing Mayan prophecy. If you saw the show yesterday and you watched the YouTube channel, unfortunately the video that was played, the Mayan video, once I ran that through YouTube, it was blocked worldwide for some reason. So I had to take that actual piece, the Mayan piece, and just use the audio track because for some reason the video was blocking the thing from being seen worldwide. I don't know why, but the link is also available so you can watch the video. That's separate. And anyway, this is another piece about the Mayan calendar. It's called 2012 Mayan Calendar. It's part 1 of 2. I'm going to play the first part today, second part tomorrow. Here we go.
The accelerating changes over history. It will demonstrate how significant steps in human evolution have suddenly come into existence at precise times, forming a pattern of profound coincidences which suggests divine guidance. This information is powerfully embedded in the construction of the ancient Mayan long count calendar. Today, the speed of events are dizzying and going ever faster, causing threats to established social institutions and cannot continue the same way. Part 2 of this video will explore the impact and alternatives for the future of humanity. Everyone is sensing that time is getting shorter. But is it time that is really speeding up? Here is an analogy that may help explain the situation. Imagine a ball rolling across a flat surface. The distance traveled each second would be constant, apart from the effect of friction. This is the linear approach that is similar to how we perceive life. However, if a ball was dropped from the top of a tall building, in the first second it would travel 32 feet. But in the next second it would travel 64 feet because of the accelerating force of gravity. It would continue to go faster and faster, exponentially. Now, if you were a microbe on this ball, rather than concluding that time was speeding up, you would realize that it is the distance traveled that is increasing each second. In a similar way, evolution is also accelerating. Time is not speeding up, but the number of events that are occurring each year is increasing. It took 2 billion years from the origin of life to the creation of cells, and just 14 years from the PC to the World Wide Web. Let's take a look at the facts through a different lens, through the lens of the evolution of consciousness. The Mayan calendar is an alternative with striking similarities to the scientific version of evolution, and it provides not only a context, but a structure supported by history, and a history which suggests a meaning of divine importance. Now, everybody's heard of the Mayan calendar and that it comes to an abrupt end in 2012. Interpretations vary anywhere from 2012 is the end of the world to 2012 is the beginning of the Age of Enlightenment. The Mayan civilization lasted well over 1,000 years until being conquered by Hernandez Cortes around 1520. And to give you an idea of the scale of their civilization, around 500 AD, when London was just a small village, at least 2 Mayan cities had populations of over 100,000 people each and had developed the most advanced mathematics and astronomy of their day. Unlike Egyptian history, the history of the Maya is not at all well known, as most of the artifacts were destroyed by the invaders. Interest in the Mayan civilization picked up in the most unusual way. During World War II, when the Russian army was storming Berlin, the Berlin Library went up in flames. Yuri Nozorov, a young student from Leningrad, ran in and rescued just one book. It turned out to be a facsimile of the only 3 surviving Mayan codices known at the time. Back in Russia, Yuri spent 7 years breaking the Mayan code which told their history, but it was not until 1994 the Swedish biologist Dr. Carl Johan Kalman became inspired and undertook to devote his career to solve the mystery of the long count calendar and to translate its meaning into modern terms. It's this inspiring viewpoint that I'll be walking us through now, with a structure that demonstrates historical acceleration with incredible precision. The Mayan long count is not a calendar of time, but a schedule of events over time, leading to the evolution of consciousness. And of course, like any schedule, it has a start date and an end date. Here's the interesting part. It's not just one single schedule, but it is made up of 9 overlapping schedules or cycles, each of which is shorter than the one below. and they all end up on the same date. Why? The Maya believed that it takes 9 evolutionary cycles from the beginning of the universe to enlightened consciousness. This core belief is represented in the 9 steps of every Mayan pyramid. In addition, there are 3 special characteristics of the calendar which are the root of its power and prophecy. First, the Mayan mathematicians recognized that the speed of events accelerated with time, just as the ball accelerates when dropped from a tall building. Therefore, the cycles are not just shorter, each one is precisely 20 times shorter than the cycle below. For example, if cycle 2 were drawn to scale, it would be 1/20th of cycle 1. Similarly, this compression would apply to all the other cycles and they would visually collapse into a single vertical row. So for visual clarity, the expanded scale would be used for later explanations. Second, it is noted that a significant evolutionary event emerges at the beginning of each cycle, and this will be explained as we go into the detail of each of the cycles. The third characteristic, that each of the 9 cycles is divided into 13 energy periods, 7 positive and 6 negative. Dramatic changes emerged during the positive periods and became established during the 6 negative periods. Perhaps this gives new meaning to the biblical creation story in Genesis of 7 days and 6 nights. Of course, because the next cycle is 20 times shorter, the changes are 20 times faster, and 20 times faster again for each cycle after that. So let's start at the beginning. The universe came into existence as a huge explosion of energy, commonly known as the Big Bang. The Mayans identified this event as the start of the first cycle of the calendar, and they show it as happening 16.4 billion years ago. How the heck the Mayan mathematicians knew this is a puzzlement. It's pretty close to the latest estimate of modern science of 15 billion years ago. As for the actual end date, no one really knows, and there are many predictions that it's around 2012. However, Dr. Kalaman's research is that the schedule ends on the 28th of October 2011, and his is the one I shall be using. So let's take a look at the acceleration that occurred during that first cycle. Very shortly after the Big Bang, atoms formed in a gaseous fog. As the gas expands, it breaks into clouds, which expand and cool, forming the Milky Way. Then supernovas form the beginning of the universe as we know it, and the acceleration continues, until our solar system appeared around 4.7 billion years ago. And on Earth, the essential elements of life, which then formed the first cells, leading to the growth of vegetation around the planet. Until 821 million years BC, and some 16 billion years had passed before the start of cycle 2. Since it is only 1/20th of the size, we've expanded the view for full visibility. Of course, it now represents only 821 million years, and it was around this time that the first simple animal life suddenly sprang into existence. And although it was just a sponge, it represented an unprecedented breakthrough into incredible complexity. Cycle 3, being 1/20th of cycle 2, starts at 41 million years BC. By remarkable coincidence, this is the same time that the monkey sprang into existence. The timescales are getting much shorter now, with cycle 4 starting at 2 million years BC. This is around the time that the first humanoid appeared. However, it took another 70 million years for the modern Homo sapiens to evolve. Cycle 5 started at 1,500,000 years BC, coinciding with the emergence of the first languages. Cycle 6 starts at 3,115 years BC, which is also the time that the first writing appeared. The duration has now shrunken down from millions of years to 5,000 years, and we're now in the history where the dates can be more precise. So I've expanded the scale further to give more visibility. Earlier I mentioned the 13 energy periods of 7 positive and 6 negative, in which important events occurred during the positive period. In this case, each energy period is a leisurely 395 years. Here are a few examples of important events. Currency was invented around 2000 BC. The Buddha was born in 500 BC. And of course the birth of Jesus was the beginning of our Gregorian calendar. He was followed by the birth of Muhammad around 570 AD. Then moving rapidly along to 1450 AD, the invention of the printing press by Gutenberg and his printing of the Bible revolutionized communications. Cycle 7 starts 1755 AD, and this was also coincident with the invention of the steam engine by James Watt in the mid-1700s. This was the event that triggered the Industrial Revolution, and the length of the energy periods in which change occurs now reduces to 20 years. The steam locomotive was invented by George Stephenson in 1814. Samuel Morse invented the telegraph in 1837, and Carl Benz introduced the automobile in 1885. In 1920, Westinghouse introduced radio programs. Emails went online in 1971, and the World Wide Web was launched in 1990. Now things are really speeding up. Cycle 8 begins 5th of January 1999, and that was the start of the IT revolution, which continues today. The number of events occurring in this cycle was vast, as each energy period of creation is only 12 months. In 2001, the iPhone, then the iPod, the DVD, the digital camera, an oxygen-powered plane, and in 2011, the ubiquitous iPad. And so we come to March 9, 2011, the start of the last cycle, Cycle 9. This cycle has started with momentous events in the Arab world and the Middle East, and I've labeled it the Freedom Revolution. Hang on to your hats, folks. This is a period of unprecedented rate of change, every 18 days. It will be a roller coaster in all areas, societal, natural, financial, and political. Now here are just a few of the headlines about countries in the Middle East in March. Tunisia, Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, Yemen, Syria. 3 important conclusions can be drawn from the Mayan long count. Firstly, the 9 cycles of the schedule accurately demonstrate the acceleration of events from ancient history up to the present day. Secondly, the probability of 9 significant steps in human evolution aligning with the start dates of the 9 cycles is way beyond coincidence, suggesting a divine purpose. Thirdly, the rate of evolution in Cycle 1 is almost static, as it takes 1 billion years for the change to occur. However, by Cycle 9, the frequency has increased to the point where it takes just 18 days for major change to occur, which easily accounts for the turmoil of today. But what comes after the end of the schedule? Will society descend into chaos, as some predict, or will we evolve into a society of compassion and caring? Part 2 of this video explores the stress impact of the speed up on the human psyche and how heartfelt intuition can open us to the guidance of the soul.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News, and today I have 5 stories. Story number 1 takes us out to Vietnam. And that's a weird looking thing, don't you agree? Now, this could be, perhaps, looks like it's probably one object with the lights around the edges here, maybe the front. This is the top. It looks like it kind of goes up almost like a pyramid. Watch as the girl in the Vietnam records a UFO over the city of Noi, and the footage is extensive. Total footage that she posts is about 12 minutes. That's some great evidence there. The camera shakes because the object is so very far away, and she's trying hard to hold it steady, but you can see the UFO turning or rotating. I've never seen an object except a helicopter rotate like that, and this is no helicopter. Alright, very interesting the way that is moving. Yeah, that is moving kind of weird, don't you think? It almost looks like it's on a string, but they say this was a real thing floating up there in the sky. So, but the movements are quite interesting. All right, that's over Vietnam. Looks like we have a second one down here. Oh, just the same thing, 12 minutes of video. Okay. So same thing, the link's available. Moving right along, this is now over Fresno, California. Footage of unknown objects in the sky above Fresno on Wednesday the 17th of October, and this was with night vision. Alright, here's our object in question. We've seen one or two of these before. There we go. It looks like we got a second one up there. Second one looks a little smaller. Alright. So Fresno, California, night vision. Okay. Moving right along. This one goes now. We go to Australia. UFO watchers buzzing over photo from Australia. The Northern Star reports a Ballina man took this photo of an unidentified flying object at Broken Head in August, but researchers from the UFO Research NSW are reluctant to say it could be genuine. Adam Frankham and his girlfriend went to look out and walking track at Broken Head on August 24th, and he took two photos seconds apart, one showing a clear sky and the next showing an unidentified flying object above the ocean. But Mr. Frankham didn't discover what he had captured until 3 weeks later when he downloaded the images from his phone to his computer. We went for a bit of a walk up there to have a look, and I stopped on the way there to take a couple of shots like I usually do, he said. Alright, that looks like that must be the one without. We worked it out. Definitely couldn't have been a plane because there was no noise at all. We couldn't hear a thing. Okay, so pretty cool. 1 minute you see it, 1 minute you don't. Alright, next. This is the surface of the moon. It says in our media we are rarely told about the NASA document or even the UFO sighting that has come directly from NASA. The fact is, many astronauts and many people work with NASA has clearly stated that there are UFOs that they have seen on the moon. In this video, we not only get some of them, but we hear about some of what they have been saying about other sightings that have been captured on video. So let's find out what this is.
UFOs flying across the lunar surface are still going on to this day. In Japan, amateur astronomers have videotaped spherical luminosities using celestron telescopes.
You can see the very interesting looking objects that are up there. These aren't normal. But there they are. Now the video itself here is, you can see it's 9 minutes 6 seconds long. So I'm not going to be playing it here. But I wanted to make you aware of it so you can check it out. The link is available. Alright, now the very last story here today. This is an important one. Former UK advisor claims country stockpiles weaponry against alien threat. A former UFO advisor to the Ministry of Defense in the UK claims that the government has prepared weaponry for defending the country against any possible alien invasion or attack. Nick Pope divulged that the country has stockpiled special weapons, drones, and many prototype aircraft to fight against these terrifying extraterrestrials aiming to invade the nation. He explained during an interview with MSN that alien invasion is not impossible, given that reported UFO sightings never stop from occurring despite the government's rejection. He attributes his belief in possible alien threat to the statements of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan during the speech to the United Nations, saying that he was thinking of how all countries could make similarities when an alien attack becomes true. One of these factors that really convinced Pope that alien attacks are possible was when the incident in Rendlesham in Suffolk in New England in 1980, where a UFO was reportedly landing between military bases, two military bases. Military officers who responded to the area of incident reported that radiation levels went beyond normal as the unknown flying object was seen flying over the bases. Pope spent 21 years at the MOD until he left in 2006. He was also in coordination with a government program that was intended for declassifying and releasing UFO documents from the ministry to the National Archives. He is presently residing in California and conducts lectures around the world while working with film and television companies. Okay, so what do we make of this story? Well, we know that Nick Pope has been involved with activities that we would think of as disinformation campaigns. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Do you remember before the Olympics he said that there could possibly be some sort of a sighting that occurred during the course of the Olympics? Well, there was that sighting that some people say it was a ship. Other people say it was just a dirigible that was flying up there. Either way, there was something that people saw on that first day, and he was one who brought this information out. So I don't know what to make of necessarily of his information, other than, he's right. This country is probably stockpiling weapons because they do believe there's an alien threat. And if you remember what Werner von Braun had said, that the last card that was going to be played was the alien invasion card. The holographic equipment that's up there, Project Bluebeam, has within it the intent and the idea to be able to simulate an alien invasion, to fake one, so that you think that you're being attacked. And then when you're attacked, you'll say, "Oh, government, protect us, protect us." And then they'll send up the ships to fight the holographs, and of course they will win, and then everybody will love the governments. Well, that's what they want. But remember, an invasion usually involves an element of surprise. An element of surprise. Now, sure, we'd be surprised if all of a sudden lots of ships started landing down here. However, the ships are out there. We see the ships. They're making themselves known to the people down here by allowing themselves to be seen. The element of surprise is gone. So, let's say that you were going to go attack somewhere. Would you keep allowing yourself to be seen and allow the person that you are going after to be able to build up weaponry so they could fight you better? Would you do that? Does that make any sense? Doesn't make any sense to me, because that's not how the process would work. Because you want to use the element of surprise on your side. So when the government, and you hear, it even says down here, says that he is working with film and television companies. Well, isn't it the film and TV companies that are telling people to be afraid of the extraterrestrials? Right? So there's a tie-in here. You got this guy, Nick Pope, who's out there telling these stories, but they're just stories. They're disinformation. I don't believe that everything he's saying is right on. There's some truth in there, but I don't believe everything. I believe he's pushing the alien invasion idea. But believe me, there's good guys up there that are wanting to assist us through this process of change, this spiritual change, and it's not all about being attacked. So for those who think they want to be attacked and are thinking that way, change your way of thinking. And if you can't, then go off in a field somewhere and wait for your attack. But for those who know better, then you know better, and keep your mind open to what the lessons are and the positive stuff. Because remember, in this time, even the Bible and all prophecy talks about we have to be on guard, not to be fooled. And there's lots of different ways we can get fooled these days. And just paying attention to the information, that's the first way. We have to all learn to think for ourselves. If we can think for ourselves, we won't get fooled. If we have somebody else think for us, then there's a problem. All right? That's our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away just for a moment, and I'll be right back. I've got more stories to go. Here we go.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
All right. Here we go. Next up is Dr. Paul. This time, this is his weekly report, and he's putting out information here about the real unemployment numbers. So you heard what Beavis and Butthead or Romney and Obama had to say about the whole situation. Now listen to what somebody else has to say who actually is going to be more honest with you. Here we go.
Last week, supporters of the current administration rejoiced over the jobs numbers released by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. For the first time since the administration came to power, the official unemployment number fell below 8%. Keynesian cheerleaders all claimed the numbers meant we are surely on the road to economic recovery just in time for Christmas and also the election. Others saw through at this ruse. The situation on the ground looks nothing like a recovery. 23 million people are still out of work or chronically underemployed. This number is expected to rise dramatically next year. The situation in Washington should not give anyone cause for optimism. Politicians refuse to look honestly and intelligently at the cause of our economic malaise, and so real solutions are not taken seriously or acted upon. It is much easier and less painful to simply recalculate the numbers and redefine the terms until a rosier picture is presented. There is only blind hope that at some point, for some reason, things might change. But nothing will change for the better if we only stay the course. The truth is, the long-term solutions to our economic quagmire involve some short-term pain. Reevaluating the economic role of an institution as insidious and behemoth as the Federal Reserve will inconvenience some people, and those people happen to have a lot of power. Similarly, the idea of ending government programs and closing down superfluous departments will always upset someone because it means someone will stop getting a government check. No one wants to upset the apple cart, even if all the apples are rotten. Not all of the unemployed are counted in the BLS unemployment numbers. This is no secret. In 1994, government statisticians came up with the term discouraged worker to remove entire swaths of people from the unemployment statistic. Now, all the government has to do to improve the unemployment numbers is discourage people from looking for a job. Far more unintended consequences are created in Washington than jobs. Ideally, the business sector should be able to depend on sound numbers from the BLS, but smart business leaders know that trust in these numbers leads to bad decisions and failures. In regards to the recent jobs number, investor Jim Rogers recently stated, quote, "I have learned not to take advice from the government, especially the U.S. government, which frequently misleads its citizens," close quote. He also noted the election was just around the corner, suggesting timing as an extra incentive to keep up fudging the statistics. The real drivers of the productive economy can't afford to take risks based on false numbers. This is why economist John Williams created shadow government statistics, utilizing more traditional methodologies and definitions to show business decision makers the real economic pictures, warts and all. He shows the real unemployment rate to be a staggering 22.8%. This is a difficult figure to accept as the actual truth. Perhaps if the politicians did, the people would finally demand real change and real solutions. Perhaps they would consider that all of the so-called stimulus spending, quantitative easing, and mountains of regulations from Washington has only crippled the economy. Perhaps people would come to understand that fewer checks handed out from the public sector would mean more checks available in the private sector and a return to real prosperity instead of just the appearance of it. Thanks for calling this update. A new update is placed on this number, 888-322-1414, every Monday. The written text can be found on my website, www.house.gov/Paul, under the heading Texas Straight Talk.
All right, so there you go. So, a little bit different than what they were saying. 22 is a little bit different than 8, huh? How people are supposed to really have success in this world when they're lied to all the time is really incredible. Don't you agree? It's very crazy. All right, here's some breaking news. involves our lawsuit for putting Ron Paul in the ballot as a write-in. And as you can see here, Washington State, you can write in Ron Paul. So if you're in Washington State, do the right thing. Write in the man who wants to tell the truth. Is he actually going to get passed, even if everyone writes him in? No, because the powers that be are going to do what they're going to do to cheat him out. They already have. But voicing your opinion, expressing what you believe is important. Standing on your own integrity is important. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that believe in what Dr. Paul's about and now are confused and don't know what they're going to do because they're afraid that if they vote for him, they're wasting their vote. You're not wasting your vote because it doesn't matter who you vote for. Okay? It doesn't matter who all of the Americans vote for. The ones who are putting the president in power are going to put the president in power they want. Doesn't matter what I say or you say or anyone else says. All we are is part of the popular vote, but we're not about the vote that counts. So you might as well go out there, because wouldn't it be great to see if the news reported accurately? The popular vote shows that Ron Paul got, millions of write-in candidates. Wouldn't that be awesome to see that? It spreads a message. It lets the governments, it lets people out there know that this man and the idea, because it's not just about the man anymore, it's about the idea. This idea of liberty is spreading and people are standing up for it. So if you believe in liberty, vote for liberty because it's the right thing to do. It's not going to matter who you vote for. They're going to put in whoever. But make your stand. Draw your line in the sand. Because one thing I can assure you that will do, if you draw that line in the sand, consciously and unconsciously, it will make a difference to you because you will have made some kind of important point to yourself and you'll follow through with that, and you'll see it's very important to do these kind of things. Okay, now switching gears here over to 9/11. This was a, let's see here, this was a story. What happened here? This is correction story trial. This wasn't the story I had here. Where'd it go? Anyway, Guantanamo Bay naval trial, story and appearance. Mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed before military commission. The Associated Press gave the wrong year for killing of American Yemen militant killed in a drone strike. Anyway, I don't know what happened to the story I had here. I had a story here that was talking about the most current situation. Let me see. If I don't see it here, we're just going to skip it. The link's available. Yeah. All right. Skip that one. Sorry about that. All right. NRA. Sharpens political attack on Obama. Any wonder why with all the nonsense they're talking about? President Barack Obama's vowed Tuesday to try and ban assault weapons prompted the National Rifle Association to immediately modify its political advertising campaign against Obama in the 7 toss-up states. The NRA is spending $1.5 million in television commercials in Florida, Ohio, Virginia, Wisconsin, and an additional $800,000 on online ads in the aforementioned states, as well as Colorado, Iowa, and Nevada each week, an NRA official tells CNN. The initial ad features a broad theme that blamed Obama for the country's debt, stated the nation's sovereignty was threatened, and warned that people's rights were being attacked, including the Second Amendment during his presidency. Okay, so we've got Obama, who has, and his administration has put out the idea that if they lose, there's going to be violence in the streets. And at the same time, he wants there to be a ban on assault weapons. And where is that going to lead? That's an attack on the Second Amendment. And, so they want to start a fight. They're telling people there's going to be a fight, but they want to disarm the people so that they can't defend themselves during a fight. So if the guns are taken away from the people, and yet the military and the police keep the guns, who do you think is going to win the fight? And if it's not a fair fight, let's say that the people are right, and they don't have anything to protect themselves, then all those with the guns who are trying to, impose certain restrictions upon the people, they're in the wrong. So we got a situation here where the administration is getting the police and the military to act as terrorists towards the American people. Now, are the military and police going to go in for this? Hopefully not. I'd like to say absolutely not. But unfortunately, we know that there are sellouts in all branches of life. So there's obviously sellouts in the military who are going to go and they're going to do the bidding and they're going to take unconstitutional orders. There's obvious sellouts in the police. We have seen these each and every day. So people need to be smart, but we also need to know that there's good people in there. But anyway, just reading between the lines, this is what seems to be going on. They want to disarm the people while at the same time giving clues that there's something's about to happen. Okay. Switching gears here, this is a reality check with Ben Swan. This is in regards to the Benghazi attack. Here we go.
It was one of the more memorable moments of last night's presidential debate, certainly one that had our viewers talking. Who was right, President Obama or Mitt Romney, on the issue of whether President Obama called the Benghazi attack an act of terror the day after it happened? Well, we have the facts and the rest of the story. It's a reality check you won't see anywhere else.
All day long, media has been on the story. Twitter exploding with claims that nowhere in the president's speech in the Rose Garden did he call Benghazi a terrorist attack. Now, if we're going to break down reality here, we have to start with not only what President Obama said last night, but what he said he said.
The day after the attack, Governor, I stood in the Rose Garden and I told the American people and the world that we were going to find out exactly what happened, that this was an act of terror. And I also said that we're going to hunt down those who committed this crime.
The president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went in the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of terror.
That's what I said.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
President Obama's words there, he claims he called the attack an act of terror. He did not say, as media on the right are claiming, that it was a terrorist attack. However small the difference there is a difference. So now, what the president said in the Rose Garden.
No acts of terror will ever shake the resolve of this great nation, alter that character, or eclipse the light of the values that we stand for. Today we mourn for more Americans who represent the very best of the United States of America.
So to the question of whether President Obama called the Benghazi attack an act of terror in the Rose Garden, it is true. But this is reality check, not just a fact check. So to be intellectually honest, President Obama and his campaign cannot just stand back and say they always called it an act of terror and pretend those claims about the YouTube movie never happened. At least a half dozen times, someone from the administration linked the attacks to that YouTube movie called The Innocence of Muslims, including the president himself.
And Chris Stevens, the ambassador there, was one of the leaders of that process. So when he was killed, there were vigils in Libya, but also in front of the White House, expressing the deep sorrow that the Libyan people felt towards them. What we've seen over the last week and a half, is something that actually we've seen in the past, where there is an offensive video or cartoon directed at the Prophet Muhammad, and this is obviously something that then is used as an excuse by some to carry out inexcusable violent acts.
So what this means for you, lots of talk in the debate without giving you answers. In fact, the original question asked about Benghazi was never answered. Here was the question.
The State Department refused extra security for our embassy in Benghazi, Libya, prior to the attacks that killed 4 Americans. Who was it that denied enhanced security, and why?
So in the end, the Benghazi question became about the candidates and their back and forth, more so than about the 4 American men who lost their lives in Libya and why. And that is Reality Check.
You can find the sources for this story posted on our website at fox19.com. And if you'd like to make your voice heard on the story, Head over to Ben's Facebook page and you can find it by searching Ben Swan.
So you can see by their answer, they didn't answer the question, right? They don't care about the people that were killed. If they did, you would be able to tell. But they don't. They only care about themselves and getting in offices, which is why instantly it goes to them. Ego, pride, that's what's going on there. Pride, two prideful men that are up there and, strutting around like peacocks. All right. Now, we saw those two president candidates. But there's others that are out there, and they're not always treated with respect. For example, Green Party candidate was police handcuffed her to a chair for 8 hours. Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Jill Stein said Wednesday police handcuffed her to a chair during her 8-hour imprisonment following her arrest outside the second presidential debate. For most of the time, it was just running mate Chen Honka and myself, Stein told Democracy Now! Anchor Amy Goodman. Yet they felt the need to keep us in tight plastic restraints, tightly secured to metal chairs. Stein and Honkala were arrested Tuesday while sitting in the street to protest their exclusion from this year's presidential debates between Democrat Barack Obama and Republican Mitt Romney. They tried to enter the debate hall at the host site, Hofstra University, but were denied access because they lacked the necessary credentials. So, presidential candidate, Green Party candidate, handcuffed to a chair. Again, they don't care, because if this woman, who was not one of their scripted speakers, got up and talked, well, she would be improving, saying things that the people really need to know. Can't have presidential candidates talking about things that the people really need to know, right? Because if that's the case, it kind of blows the whole agenda of the New World Order. The idea is to keep people dumb and stupid. Keep moving along, nothing to see here. So, all right, out in Yuma, if you live on the Arizona, there's waves of Marine helicopters to take to the Yuma skies. They'll be swooping down from the skies into Yuma locations Friday afternoon and into the evening, part of a real-world training exercises to simulate the emergency rescue and evacuation of civilians in the event of a natural disaster or other crisis. The aircraft, along with a column of military vehicles and ground support Marines, will be conducting a non-combatant evacuation operation, NEO, exercise, which is held twice a year during the Weapons and Tactical Instructor course. A separate group of aircraft will also be flying to 29 Palms, California, to participate in similar evacuation exercise there. The highlight of the exercise is held within the city limits to make the training as realistic as possible, training the Marines may need to evacuate in a future mission. Okay, it's a natural thing. It's good that they stay prepared. But is there something going on? I don't know. Next story ties into this somewhat because today is called a Shakeout Day. You can go to shakeout.org, the link's available, and you can see here in all the states they've got listed shakeouts that are taking place. Okay? A lot of different locations where they want you to be prepared for an earthquake. California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Alaska, Idaho, Utah, Central U.S. So all of these are locations. You just click on the location and it will tell you and give you information about that. So, something's going on. Someone's preparing for something. It's always good to be prepared. But is this preparation for something that is definitely going to happen that people need to be more aware about? Or is it preparing people because governments and communities know that people need to be reminded to prepare themselves just because life has its own set of distractions that if you don't stop to think about it, maybe. Nonetheless, it's all par for the course. Remember, within that 64-day period of time. So it's possible. We're talking about it. There's been lots of individuals who have talked about 2012, December 21st, for a long time. So it's possible in these next 64 days we're going to hear more stories like this, because there are those in positions within governments and communities and so on that are also aware and are preparing just in case something happens. So not wrong, nothing wrong with being prepared. Okay, before we get into the meditation, I have one more piece. This says new archaeological discoveries suggest end of the world December 21st, 2012. So let's see what this is and then jump on into meditation. Here we go.
Archaeologists in Guatemala on Thursday announced the discovery of the second known reference to the end date of the Mayan calendar, found inscribed on panels recently uncovered at the La Corona archaeological site. The panels are 1,300 years old and are considered one of the most significant hieroglyphic discoveries in decades.
I was very amazed and amused yesterday to notice that that panel records the date of the end of the 13th Baktun, which for us is coming up in just a few months' time, in December of 2012. So here we have a Maya monument that was carved 1,500 years ago that's talking about the year that we're in right now.
In the Mayan calendar, the long calendar count begins in 3114 BC and is divided into roughly 394-year periods called Baktuns. Mayans held the number 13 sacred, and the 13th Baktun ends on December 21st, 2012. The inscriptions depict the visit to La Corona by the ruler of the nearby Mayan city of Calakmul after a stinging military defeat, apparently in an effort to reassure worried allies. The inscriptions also predict that the ruler's lineage will continue, rather than any apocalyptic prophecies. Tomas Barrientos, the director of the Center of Anthropological and Archaeological Investigations at Guatemala's Universidad del Valle, said that the archaeological site ranks among the most important Mayan sites in Central America or Mexico. According to a May poll, nearly 10% of people think the Mayan calendar could signify the apocalypse will happen in 2012.
Okay, so yet another piece of the puzzle. Something's going on. But hey, maybe the person who carved that long time ago, maybe they were crazy. Maybe they just randomly selected that date out of nowhere. I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe this is the end, and maybe the only thing that we could do is bend over and kiss our ass goodbye. You know, I don't know. But it will be interesting to find out, and I'm sure we'll all find out together, because we're all going to be here, right? All right, last thing, our meditation. So, close your eyes. Relax. A few minutes just to collect our thoughts. Focus ourselves. So let's imagine right off the bat our chakras are all activated. Imagine the bottom chakra red at the bottom of the spine. It's drawing the energy in from the earth. And the energy draws into that chakra. And then it moves up slowly down the middle of the spine to the chakra above it. It's right at the belly button, and that's the emotional chakra. And the color goes from red to orange. And as the energy moves up, it moves to the chakra above that, the intellectual chakra, for the intellectual body, and the color is yellow. And then let the energy raise up higher into the heart, to the heart chakra. Our love center, color is green. And then the energy keeps raising up to the throat, where the color changes blue. This is our throat chakra, our center of communication. And from there, the light continues up, and the energy moves all the way up to our third eye, right between our two eyebrows. This is how we see through dimensions of space and time. The color of this chakra is violet. And finally, the energy reaches the top of the head, the crown chakra, where it is indigo color, turning into white light as it continues on up into the cosmos. And imagine that light, seeing that light from the cosmos coming down to your crown chakra, and the light from the earth drawing itself up into the lower chakra. And just imagine feeling that energy moving on into your body. And as you feel the energy, see the multicolored light that it shines. And as your body becomes filled with energy, the light spills over until you're able to see this line of light around you. Your spiritual armor. Now imagine walking down the path of life fully protected, fully energized. And as you walk along the path of life, your imagination is in high gear. And as you walk and you see problems in the world, you find that you're able to instantly solve the problems. As you walk through life, any obstacle that gets in your way, you're able to move past it, walk around it, step over it. It's as if you suddenly have tuned in to a new set of synchronicity. And as you keep walking and seeing others, you realize that they are all finding a new level of synchronicity as well. And everyone stops and looks at each other. And there's a common understanding about the process of evolution that is taking place. And everyone silently acknowledges each other. Take their hands and you move your hand to your chest. You hold it there to draw in some of the green energy from your chest, from the love chakra. And then you turn your hands down towards the earth and allow that green energy just to shoot outward, sending this love down into the earth. And as everybody is sending love down into the earth smiles back. The grass becomes greener. The water becomes bluer. Life becomes more vibrant as the earth is energized with the love being sent to it. And everyone smiles because you realize we are connected. And as we give love to the earth loves us back. And then we all turn our hands upwards towards the sky and we send this love up to the cosmos. And the planets and the stars smile down upon us. And the birds sing. And we realize that as we send love out into the world becomes a better place. And that sending love out into the world is an easy process that we can each and all do from where we are at any moment during the course of our day. So let's just think of this world as a peaceful, loving place. Let's imagine this world protected from the problems, protected from any intense energy. And let's see our world evolving, taking all of these energies that are hitting it and evolving and moving forward. And let's imagine what the world would be like and will be like when we all rise in consciousness, when we all make that next step in our evolutionary process. And as we contemplate that idea, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith, and one coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. All right, there you have it. Made it through another day. We're almost through another week. One more day tomorrow, and weekend is upon us again. So go out and have a great day. And I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Thanks for checking in. I'll be back soon. Check the links. There's a lot of good stories there, good videos and stuff. And we'll reconvene tomorrow. Peace. Have a great day.